Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bad Taste Hour of the Year. The Guru International Back Bar proudly presents King Billy Cokebottle.
Oh, Mark, I've got to tell you all the story about Cornell. There's a place in Sydney, you know, and I've got to tell you how that place got its name. Long time ago in the Dreamtime when that Captain Cook fella, he sailed down the bottom of Australia. He's hit that Tasmania, ricocheted up that east coast, and come to this place called Cornell in Botany Bay, mate. What happened is my old grandfather, great-grandfather Cokebottle, he was there to meet him. He was there waving the Union Jack. Anyway, they grabbed the Captain Cook fella, lifted him up out of the boat, carried him over there to the Australian soil. They put him on the ground, and with this, the grandfather Cokebottle, he marched up to him. Captain Cook fella reached out with his hand to shake his hand. Grandfather Cokebottle stepped back and he speared him right between the legs. And he said, "Ah, Cornell." Okay, well, I've got to tell you something that happened the other day on the station. Morton jumped out of his sleeping bag, screaming, "Crikey, Billy, quick, get the flying doctor. Snake's just biting me. He's biting on my snake. Quick, get the flying doctor." So anyway, I've gone over to that and got on the pedal wires, you know. So I'm pedaling away there. I said, "That the flying doctor?" He said, "Yep." I said, "Look, my brother Morton, he's been bitten by a snake. What am I going to do?" He said, "Look, what you got to do is you got to make an incision across the snake bite and suck out the poison." Oh, crikey. Anyway, he said, "Then I'll be there in about an hour to come pick him up." So anyway, "What'll happen if I don't do that?" He said, "He'll die." Oh, so anyway, I hung up, walked out there's Morton ribbling on the ground. He said, "What'd he say, Billy? What'd he say?" He said, "You're going to die." Yeah, one day Morton, he's sitting on Ayers Rock and he's got the clapsticks there going like that, you know, singing the song. "Oh, back of me, good Andy, when you're a probably." And all of a sudden, the spaceship come along. And the Martians are looking out, seeing Morton sitting on Ayers Rock, you know. And I thought, let's do an experiment on the Morton. Let's take a quarter of his brain away with a laser gun and see what effect it has. So I went and hit him in the head, you know, with the laser gun. Morton's only got 3/4 of his brain left, but he's still gone. "Oh, back of me, good Andy." I said, "Oh, let's take another quarter of his brain away." So I went, zap him again. Only got half a brain, Morton's still gone. "Oh, back of me, good Andy." I said, "Oh, let's zap him again, take another quarter of his brain away." So I zap him again, he take another quarter of his brain, only got 1/4 of his brain left, he's still gone. "Oh, back of me, good Andy." I said, "That's it. Let's zap him total, take his total brain away." So and he went, "Comity, cora." Oh, Morton the other day, you know, he's gone to the doctor because he's constipated. He said, "Oh, doctor, hey, mate, I can't go in there, but shit, mate, you gotta fix me up." He said, "Well, for a starter," he said, "what have you been eating?" He said, "Snooker balls." I said, "Snooker balls? How can you eat snooker balls?" He said, "Oh, easy." He said, "In the morning," he said, "I'll get a couple of reds," he said, "and I boil them up, you know, have them hard boiled." He said, "Then for lunch," he said, "I normally, you know, go and get a brown one, a couple of reds," he said, "and I sort of do a roast, you know." I said, "Oh, no." He said, "And then for dinner," he said, "I might get myself a blue and a yellow and a couple more reds." He said, "And I have them as a big pie." You know? He said, "Oh, well, that's your problem." He said, "What's that?" He said, "You're not eating enough greens." Oh, the other day when me and Morton were talking about when we were little kids in Kalgoorlie, you know, there's a famous street there called High Street. Anyway, we were camped over the road, you know, and all of a sudden we seen this bloke come walking down the road with a $20 note in his hand. And he'd knocked on the door, you know, and the woman had come out there and she got a cigarette hanging out of her lip and got a negligee there, you know, you can see them Tasmania. Anyway, what happened is that the lady would come out and say, "Yes, love." And the bloke would hand her the $20 and he'd go in there and, oh, about half an hour later he'd come out, big smile on his face and all shaky in the legs, you know. Well, Morton said to me, he said, "Hey, Billy, I wonder what's going on over the road there." He said, "Well, let's go find out. I got $1.20. What you got?" He said, "I got $1.07. I said, "That's $3. Let's go over there, mate." So anyway, Morton, he's knocking on the door. Sure enough, door open, the lady standing there with a cigarette hanging out the lip, you know. Morton looked up at her and he said, "Hey, I got $3. What are you going to give me?" He said, "Come in, darling." And she grabbed Morton and slammed the door in my face. With this, he spun around, got Morton, kicked him in the head, kneed him in the balls, picked him up over the head and threw him on the ground and then turned him around and threw him out the door and onto the ground. I ran up to Morton, I dusted him off, I said, Morton, you okay? Oh, I said, Christ. What's going on in there? He said, I don't know what's going on in there. He said, but I'm sure glad I didn't have $20. Yeah, well, I got to tell you a story about Morton when he was working at the zoo. He had the spear there because it was a very professional spear, and they were walking around just picking up all the papers for the zoo. Well, anyway, they're coming up to the school holidays, and the male gorilla in the zoo, he died. And the female gorilla, she getting nice and angry every time the guy coming there to clean out the cage. The female gorilla just smash the zookeeper up and dip his head in the water and chuck him around. So they thought there's something wrong here. We can't have this gorilla behaving like this with the kids coming around to see him in the school holidays. So they went and got a big meeting and got the book out on gorillaism, to see what's going on with this gorilla. Sure enough, they read up there that, like the female species of the human race, female gorillas too, if they don't get looked after, they get grumpy, So they thought, well, we better get another male gorilla. So they advertised everywhere around Asia and America looking for a spare gorilla. But no gorillas available. They're all booked up. So they thought, oh, what are we going to do now? So they went and had another meeting, got the book out on gorillaism again, and they find out that maybe they could get a person to make love to this gorilla, because of being like a human being, So they went advertised everywhere. Come on, somebody's got to make love to a gorilla for $5,000. But not one answer, not even a pom, nothing. So it was this. I thought, oh, well, we'll have a look around. There's Morton. We'll offer him the job. I said, hey, Morton, come here. Morton come up over to the flyway door. I said, yeah, boss. He said, how would you like to make love to a gorilla for $5,000? Morton said, oh, I've got to think about that. All right. He said, I'll do it on 3 conditions. He said, what's that? Well, he said, firstly, he said, I don't want it, printed in the papers, because that ain't good, that's bad for your image, because I don't like that. He said, and secondly, he said, I don't want it on the TV, because that's not doing us any good and my relations might see it, that's not good. All right, what's the third condition? He said, the third condition, he said, I'd like 6 months to raise the $5,000. Yeah, well, there's this tribe, over in Africa called the Unga Bunga tribe. They're sort of related to us, but what happened is people got caught over there. This Morton relayed the story to me. The businessman and all that got caught by the Unga Bunga tribe, and they're sitting in the hut there, and all they could hear was this Unga Bunga, and they're wondering what's going on. But all of a sudden, the door of the hut swung open, and the chief said to this bloke, he said, yo, Unga Bunga or death? And this bloke said, oh, crikey, anything's better than death. Give me some Unga Bunga. So they wrestled him out, ripped his pants off, put him over a barrel, and these three big buck Negroes come out of another hut and done this up the backside, and they've gone, Unga Bunga, Unga Bunga, and everybody's throwing the spears away. Oh, crikey. So they come back to the next bloke and said, yo, Unga Bunga or death? And the guy said, He said, I'd love some Unga Bunga. He said, I ain't had any Unga Bunga since I left Qantas. So they took him in there. It's on again, going, Unga Bunga, Unga Bunga, and all throwing the spears around. I come back for the third bloke, he said, yo, Unga Bunga or death? The bloke said, listen, I happen to be a very respectable businessman, and if my associates and colleagues have found out that I've been Unga Bunga'd, I might as well be dead. He said, so I'll have death. He said, right, death by Unga Bunga. Yeah, Morton the other day, it was 3 in the morning, and he's rung up his vet. He said, hey, mate, my dog is stuck. He's double-decker, mate. What am I going to do? I said, well, look, he said, just get a broom handle and whack him one with that. That sort of unknot him. Anyway, so Morton hung up. He went and got the broom handle and he smashed him to bits, He got back on the phone. He said, hey, mate, my dog is still stuck. He said, well, he said, get a bucket of water and throw that over him. So Morton hung up, got a bucket of water and nearly drowned the dog, but he's still stuck. So he got back on the phone again. He said, hey, mate, that dog of mine is still stuck. He said, well, tell him he's wanted on the phone. I said, what? I said, yeah, tell him he's wanted on the phone. He said, will that work? He said, well, it worked for me. Yeah, I got to tell you a Dreamtime story about when me and Morton were playing football, And after a hard day's football training, we went to sleep on the road. A big truck ran over us, So next thing we're going up to the pearly gates. And some Peter fella, he come out there and said, what do you want? I said, we want to come in. He said, bullshit, mate, no niggers coming in here. I said, hang on, that's a racial discrimination. We demand to come in. Sorry much, no niggers coming in here. He said, what do you mean? That's all the laws changed. You've got to let us in. I said, mate, this place is only for white people and VIPs. Well, Morton looked at me and said, where's VIPs? Where's champion football players? Where's players for all the outback teams and even been in the reserves for North Melbourne, mate? Where's the demand to come in? Nah, fuck off. And he slammed the gates in their face, you know. So with this, St. Peter walked out the back and God said to him, he said, what was all that racket about? He said, I said, some nigger football players trying to get in, but I told them to piss off. He said, you're joking. He said, we got the Celestial Cup Grand Final on Sunday. He said, we're a couple of players short. He said, go and get them. Anyway, he went out there, come back 10 minutes later. He said, they're gone. He said, what, the nigger football players? He said, no, the gates. Yeah, more than the other day, he decided to get himself a bank loan, you know, so he didn't have a gun, so he went and got himself Uncle Wood, you know, a bit of 44, you know, and he thought, I'll go and rob the bank with that. So he marched in the bank, said the bloke, he said, right, mate, there's a robbery, give us all your money. He said, you got a gun? He said, no, mate, but I got this Uncle Wood here, mate. He said, you can't rob a bank with an Uncle Wood. Boy said, I can, so you watch, mate. So he jumped up there and he started smashing all the glass cubicle up, and next thing he jumped over the counter and started whacking the bank teller, and he whacking him, breaking his collarbone, everything. And Morton standing over the top of him. Bloke looked up and he said, hey, listen, mate, you better get yourself a gun. He said, you're going to kill somebody with that, Uncle Wood. Yeah, well, Morton is in the bar the other day and he's getting really drunkard, you know, and he's come walking out the pub there and there's a copper. He's directing the traffic because the traffic light's broken down. So Morton, he staggered up to him in the middle of the road. He said, Carnival. He said, look, somebody's gone and stolen the car right off the end of my key ring. He said, look, I'm trying to direct traffic here. He said, look, get back over on that footpath. He said, I'll deal with you in a minute. He said, by the way, he said, do your fly up. He looked down there and said, crikey, he said, the boss has stolen my girlfriend as well. Morton one day on the Wattagattabee station woke up to the noise of this moaning and groaning going on from under the sheet of galvanized iron, you know. So he lifted back, and there was his wife, Judigan, having a baby. He said, crikey, baby coming. The baby lobbed, and sure enough, it was white. Well, shit, white baby? Hang on, ain't a white bloke around here for 20,000 square miles. It's got to be the station boss. It's got to be him having his way with my wife. So he marched up to the homestead, up on the veranda and started punching shit out the flywire door. With this, the boss come out, he said, yeah, Morton, what can I do for you? He said, my wife just had a baby, and it's white. He said, congratulations. He said, must be albino. He said, ain't no albino, mate. I'm not stupid. Albino's got pink eyes. He said, I know it's you, mate. You've been sticking him in my wife. He said, no, mate. No, maybe it's a throwback, Morton. He said, ain't no throwback, only Negro throwback. I'm not stupid, I've got mission upbringing. It's got to be you. You've been sticking him in. And other white bloke around here for 20,000 square miles, it's got to be you. And with this, he saw he wasn't getting through to Morton, so he stepped down on the veranda. He said, Morton, maybe it's like this. Sure, I got 20,000 square miles. He said, and I got 10,000 sheep. He said, and every now and then, he said, I'll get a black one. Morton said, all right, I'll shut up about the baby, you shut up about the sheep. I remember years ago, when we was a Warburton mission out in West Australia, old elder of our tribe, he was dying, and he knew the only place where we could find the alluvial gold, you know, so if we short of money, we'd just go find a bit of this gold. Anyway, what happened, he was on his deathbed, and we all went to the hospital there waiting for the doctor to come out and tell us maybe what he said in his last words, because he's got to pass on the secret to us. So he walked up to the old fella. He said, how are you today, mate? And the old fella said, but you... He said, what? What a... I said, what was that? He said, what a... Gone. Dead, mate. So he come out in the veranda and break the news to our family. He said, the old fella, he's gone now, dream time. He said, well, did he say anything before he went? He said, yeah, actually he did. He said, what a garbage. Me look at Morton look at me, look back at him, and he said, well, what does it mean? He said, it means it's standing on his bloody oxygen cord, you silly old bastard. I remember when Morton was sent by the tribe, he had to go into the big smoke and find out what the white people were doing, you know, and he going away for about 6 weeks, and he coming back, and He said, well, all the elders there and that, and all the grandfathers all said, well, Morton, what did you find out about the big smoke? He said, look, I got to tell you, mate, the white fella, they got these big buildings there, these big humpies, mate, and in there they sell the grog. He said, and then, he said, they also play this game. I said, what game then, mate? He said, it's like cobweb on the wall, mate, and I got the 3 little spears, you know. So they asked me, they said, Morton, you want to throw one of these little spears at that cobweb? So I said, yeah, mate. So I got the little spear and I chucked him, mate, and he going straight in the middle. Everybody going mad, yelling and screaming and buying the grog, and crikey. So anyway, I said, can you do it again? I said, yeah, mate. So they give me another one, a little spear, and I chuck him, and he going in the middle. That's fantastic, and everybody yelling and screaming and buying more grog. He said, well, do you think you can do it again? So they give me the last little spear, and I chucked that one. And he going in the middle, and all yelling and screaming and drinking the more grog. He said, that's a very interesting story, Morton, and what did the white fella call this game? He said, I'm not quite sure, but he said, I think I heard somebody call it you Aussie black bastard. Yeah, I remember one day, me, Morton, and Albert, we was walking down the road, and we seen this pig in the fence, you know. He was all stuck up in the wire. Anyway, I walked up to him and patted him on the backside, and I said, geez, I wish this pig was Gina Lollabrigida. Well, Albert, he's walked up there, and he's rubbed the pig on the backside, too. He said, geez, he said, I wish this was that wreck of Welsh. Well, Morton, he'd walk up to the pig, and he said, geez, I wish it was dark. Yeah, one day Morton, he'd driving down the road, he'd drunk with a grog, and anyway, the coppers pull him over, you know. He said, right, Morton, you're drunk. He said, no, mate, I'm okay. He said, no, you've got to give us a breath analysis. I said, what do you mean? He said, you've got to breathe in that bag. He said, I can't do that. He said, I got a letter here from the asthma people that said that I'm asthmatic, and he said, if I blow in there, I could black out. He said, well, you're going to have to give us a blood sample then. He said, no, I can't do that, mate. He said, I got a letter here from the Red Cross people said that I'm this imminent red death prick. Anyway, that's what he said. He said, well, okay then. He said, well, you're going to have to give us a urine sample. He said, no, I can't do that. He said, don't tell me you got a letter for that. He said, yeah, it's from the government. Said you whites can't take the piss out of us blacks. I remember when I went to school in the Mikasara with the Jitigan and Jeddah, and there was Albert and Morton and all that. And one day the teacher come along and said, right, children, I want you to go home and study tonight the letters of the alphabet, because tomorrow I'm going to ask for a letter of the alphabet. I want you to give me an animal that starts with that letter, and you've got to spell it and give us the noise that makes, that animal. So all the kids, they all went home and studied it all night and come back to school the next day, and the teacher stood up there and said, right, children, who out there can give me an animal with the letter D? Well, Jitigan jumped up and said, I know that, miss. I know that. That's a dog. Spelled D-O-G. So that's very good. And what noise does the dog make? Jitigan said, that bark, miss, like this. Like, what? Like that. Said, that's very good. All right, children, who out there can give me an animal with the letter H? Albert jumped up. He said, I know that, miss. I know that. That's a horse, miss. That's a horse. I said, all right, well, how do you spell the horse? He said, O-R-S-E. I said, well, you're close. I said, well, anyway, give us the noise that horse makes. He said, that ain't nine, miss. I go like this. Like that. I said, that's very good. All right, children, who out there can give me an animal with letter P? Morton jumps up. He said, I know that, miss. I know that, miss. There's a pig. Spelled a P-R-G. She said, that's very good. And what noise do the pigs make, Morton? He said, they go like this, miss. Get out of that car, you black bastard, and put your hands in the air. I remember one day Morton, he was on this station, you know, and the old station boss come up to him and said, Morton, he said, I've given that ram over there a needle. He said, I want you to go and sit in the paddock all night and count how many times that ram stick him in. So anyway, Morton is sitting in the paddock, he coming up to the homestead the next morning, eyes hanging out of his head, got some old matchstick under his eyelid. He said, boss, he said, good ram that one, boss. Last night he stick him in 573 times, mate. He going back second sometime, boss. He's bloody good ram. He said, that's very good, Morton. He said, now go to your bunk. He said, hey, boss. He said, you couldn't give me a needle like that, could you, boss? said, no way. He said, that's only for animals. He said, yeah, but boss, you don't understand. He said, I've got all these gins coming into town and we're going to have a huge big flagging party and I've got to perform, mate. You've got to give it needle. He said, no, mate, piss off. Well, all week, you know, he pestered and he said, you got to give it needle, got to give it needle. I got all the girls coming, mate. He said, all right, we'll bend over. So he jabbed him in the backside, you know. Morton went away. Come back on the Monday morning, the old school bus pulled up down the end of the drive and dropped him off. And Morton picked himself up and staggered all the way up to the homestead. And the boss looked at him and said, Morton, you look terrible. He said, yeah, I know, boss. Boss, I've been injured. I said, what? I've been injured. I'll show you, boss. So he'd undone his fly, you know. This thing fell out, looked like mincemeat, you know. He said, oh, Morton, that's terrible. He said, yeah, mate, I know. He said, you got to give me some liniment, boss, liniment. He said, liniment ain't going to fix that. He said, ain't for that, mate, it's for me wrist. He said, the gins didn't turn up. When we were in this little old country town, there was this priest, you know, and anyway, he'd taken confessionals, and the bloke would come in there and he said, Father, I have sinned. He said, what have you done, my son? He said, I've had an affair with Fanny Green. I said, oh, all right, mate, well, forgive you, mate. They put $20 in the call box, mate, on your way, you know. So many Hail Marys. Anyway, about another quarter hour later, the other bloke came and said, oh, Father, he said, I have sinned. I've had an affair with Fanny Green. Oh, that's true, boss. There must be a new girl in town. I must look out for it in the congregation on Sunday, you know. So anyway, they said that's $20 to the fellow and sent him on his way with so many Hail Marys. On the Sunday, he's there, and Morton, he's the older boy. He's walking around lighting all the candles and getting the money off the people and feeding them the grog and biscuits and that. Anyway, when he come up there, he's doing a sermon, and all of a sudden this woman appeared at the entrance of the church. And he looked across, and there she was. She got a beautiful see-through dress, everything, you know. He said, that must be the new girl in town. He said, excuse me, Morton, get here. I said, yeah, mate. He said, is that Fanny Green? He looked over, he said, no, boss. He said, I think it's just a reflection off the window. Yeah, I remember years ago, Morton, he was walking past the butcher shop, you know, and he'd been drinking, and he looked in the window and he saw all those sausages, you know. He thought, I wonder what they are. So he walked into the butcher shop and said, hey, mate, what those legless lizards you got lying in the window there, mate? He said, oh, well, that's what the white man called the sausages. He said, really? He said, yeah. Why don't you try some? He said, all right, mate, give me a kilo. He said, hey, you cook them anyway, mate. He said, oh, I just like fish, you know, in a frying pan. Ah. Anyway, Morton went away. About half an hour later, he come back. He said, excuse me, mate, you better give me a wheelbarrow full of those sausages, mate. He said, what? Wheelbarrow full? He said, you just bought a kilo of sausages. He said, yeah, I know. He said, but when I got them home, he said, by the time I skinned and gutted them, there was bugger all left. Morton one day, standing in the bar, and this big bloke walked up to him and he said, I'm 6'6", 250 pounds, got 12 inches on the slack, 24 inches on the hard, and my name's Ben Brown. Well, with this, Morton's eyes rolled back, and he collapsed. He fainted. So the bloke come over, threw the ice bucket over him. I was shaking him. Morton, wake up, you okay? He's looking around, he saw the bloke. He said, what did he say? The bloke said, I said I'm 6'6", 250 pounds, I got 12 inches on the slack, 24 inches on the hard, and my name's Ben Brown. I said, oh, crikey, I thought you said Ben Down. One day this white fellow, you know, and his family driving out in the countryside, and they thought they might have a barbecue, but they didn't have any meat, and they didn't remember they were going past this piggery, you know. So they thought, why don't we go back there to that piggery and get a little piglet, you know, suckling pig on the barbecue, you see. So he drove in the driveway, and you're not going to believe it, Morton was there. It was his piggery. He was on this, you know, Aboriginal business scheme, you know. So the bloke walked up to him, Morton, he said, hey, mate, would you have a suckling pig there? He said, about 20 pounds, he said, just for the barbecue. He said, no worries, mate. So he'd gone in there amongst the pigs, and he was going... He grabbed this little pig, you see, and he got him by the tail, and he put him between the teeth. He said, there you are, mate, 8.5 pounds. The bloke said, bullshit. He said, that you can't weigh a pig like that. He said, yeah, mate. He said, put him on the scales. Put him on the scales, 8.5 pounds. He said, geez, he said, that was an Aussie guess, wasn't it? He said, I guess, mate, I do it all the time. He said, well, I said, I bet you couldn't do it again. He said, all right, I'll show you, mate. what do you want? He said, oh, about a 15-pound one? He said, you watch this, mate. And he grabbed a little piglet and he put the tail in his teeth. He said, there, mate, 15 pound, 2 ounces. Bloke said, bullshit, put him on the scales. They put him on the scale, 15 pound, 2 ounces. He said, that's an incredible trank you've got there. He said, it's nothing much. Anybody can do it. So what do you mean? He said, my wife, she can do it. He said, bull dust. He said, yep, no worries. He said, I'll bet you that you can't. He said, all right, I bet you can, $200. He said, all right, you're on. He said to the kid, he said, quick, get up there. I said, go get your mum. He said, you got to go and win us $200. So kid's going up there. Come back 5 minutes later. He said, she's busy, Dad. She's busy. You're busy? He said, you get back up there and tell her to come down here straight away. So he's going up there, come back again. He said, Dad, he said, she's still busy. He said, busy? He said, what's keeping her so busy that she can't come down here and win us $200? He said, I'm not quite sure. He said, but I think she's trying to weigh the milkman. Yeah, I remember my wife Jetta and Gilligan one day, Morton's wife, sitting down having a cup of tea, and one day Gilligan just said, oh, you know, that Morton, he just don't give me any money. You know, I never got any money to buy myself anything. Well, Jetta said, well, Billy used to be like that with me, but I taught him a lesson. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, one day when we went down to the shopping centre, I didn't wear no underpants, you know, and when I reached up to the top shelf to get something down, well, Billy noticed. He said, Christ, Jetta, you got no underpants on. And I just told him, I said, well, look, you know, by the time I fed your kangaroo dogs and paid your police fines, I got no money to go buy an underpants. So he said, here you are, here's $20, go buy yourself some underpants. Well, Gilligan said, I think I'll try that with the Morton. Sure enough, following weekend, going down the Kmart there, Gilligan reached up the top shelf. And Moore said, Christ, Gilligan, you got no underpants on. Yeah, I know. I said, well, by the time I, you know, feed your kangaroo dogs and pay your police fines and send the kids off to school, I got no money to buy underpants. He said, oh, well, here's 20 cents. Buy yourself a comb. At least you can look tidy. Yeah, I remember years ago when we were kids and we were in the back of a taxi going down High Street in Kalgoorlie, and Morton got his nose pressed up against the glass. You know, on the window there, looked like he had sunglasses on. He said, looking at these women standing there in the doorway in the negligees, you know, and he looking back around, he said to Mum, he said, hey, Mum, what are all those ladies doing there standing in their pajamas? He said, why, Morton, there's miners' wives. They're the women waiting for their husbands to come from the Mount Charlotte mine, you know, from night shift. Ah. Well, just a cab driver turned around and said, why didn't you tell the kid the truth? They're prostitutes. Oh, well. What said, hey, Mum, do the prostitutes have babies? She said, sure, son. Where do you think taxi drivers come from? Yeah, Morton, he come home one day and he's caught his next door neighbour, you know, messing about with Gilligan. He said, well, that's it. I'm going to fix this bloke up. So he grabbed him, dragged him down the back of into the garden shed. And he put his dick in the vice, you know. Then he got out this big long-bladed knife and he started sharpening up the knife and sharpening him up. And the bloke, the neighbour next door, looked at him and he said, oh, Morton, he said, you're not going to cut it off, are you? He said, no, you are. I'm setting the light to the shed. Yeah, I remember one day that me and Morton was walking across the Nullarbor Plain, you know, and walking along, and all of a sudden Morton said, hey, Billy, what's these little round things here lying on the ground, what? I said, why, that's what the white man calls the knowledge beans. He said, if you eat one of them, mate, you can end up smart like that Einstein fellow or that Prime Minister of Australia, mate. That's what you could end up. He said, really? I better have one straight away. So he reached down, picked one up, put it in his mouth. He said, he said, this tastes like rabbit shit. I said, there you are, you're learning already. Yeah, Dreamtime story here for you, mate. Long, long time ago in the Dreamtime. There was a fat crocodile, and there was a skinny crocodile. And the skinny crocodile said to the fat crocodile, hey, how come you're so fat and I'm so skinny? I said, what do you mean? He said, well, we live in the same lagoon. He said, we come out of the same batch of eggs, yet you're fat and I'm skinny. How come? He said, it might be like this, mate. He said, right on dusk, he said, as the girls of the tribe come down there to get the water, he said, I slide off the bank, go underneath, and as the last one turns around, I sneak up, grab her by the ankle, drag her in under the water, mate, and gobble her all up. He said, so what? He said, you end up bloody rolling off a log, crashing across the top, and by the time you get there, all you end up is with a mouthful of shit and a pair of songs. Yeah, there was a funny story I got to tell you about Morton and this Jew and this Australian, mate. They were drinking in the pub all together, and they're drinking, and finally they get that drunk, all three of them all go staggering out of the pub and got run over by a big cattle truck. Well, they all ended up to the pearly gates, you see, and about 10 minutes later, the Aussie, he's back. The Australian's back in the bar. The bloke's, well, crikey, we saw him run over 10 minutes ago. What's going on here? So they marched up around to this bloke and said, how come you're here? We just seen you killed 10 minutes ago. He said, well, when I got up to the pearly gates, he said, I done a deal with St. Peter. He said, what do you mean? I said, $10, mate. And he sent me back down here. I said, $10 to come back? He said, what happened to that other two? He said, well, the Jew's haggling about the price. He said, and the coon reckons that the government should pay. Yeah, I remember one day when Morton was hitchhiking, you know, and a bloke pulled up next to him and he said, yeah, Morton, I'll give you a lift. He said, but I said, your dog. He said, I can't bring your dog in the car. He said, it's all right, mate. He said, he's a good dog, that one. He said, you keep up, he'll run alongside. The bloke laughed, you know. I said, all right, get in. Anyway, he was driving along about 60 kilometres an hour and he looked across over past Morton there and sure enough, the dog is running along there with his tongue hanging out. I said, well, crikey, this dog can go, can't he? 60 kilometres. So he thought he put the foot down a bit more, you see. So next thing, he's doing 80 kilometres. And the dog's still there. So he thought, I'm going to get rid of this dog. So he put the foot right down. He's doing 120 kilometres. All of a sudden, he's looking across, the dog's still there. He thought, I can't believe this. So then he put it right down, mate, and he'd wiped the car off the clock. He's doing about 160 k's. He looked across, and next thing, crash! He'd gone off a bend and into a tree. Anyway, he dragged Morton out of the car and everything else and dusted him off. And he said, Morton, he said, you okay? He said, yeah, mate, yeah, I'm okay. He said, where's your dog? He said, that's him over there, mate. He said, that's not your dog. He said, yeah, that's my dog. He said, your dog didn't have a red collar. He said, that ain't a collar, mate, that's his arse. He's never had to stop so quick. Yeah, I remember one day I was in some country hotel there and Morton said to the publican, he said, hey, mate, where's the toilet? I said, it's just out the back there, mate. You just go out the back door and down around the corner. Anyway, Morton went away. About half an hour later, I said to the publican, I said, what's the matter with that Morton? He's not back yet. And he said, well, look, come with me, we'll go look for him. Sure enough, we go over there, and there is Morton in the dunny, mate, and there's shit everywhere, mate. Everywhere, on the light bulb, on the roof, everywhere. He said, Morton, what's with you? He said, salts, mate, salts. I've been taking the salts. He said, what, Eno? Epsom salts? He said, no, summer salts. Yeah, one day I was living in this old outback hotel, mate. And Morton said to the publican, he said, hey, mate, where's the toilet? He said, just go out there on the veranda. He said, walk down a couple of doors, you'll see a hallway. Down the hallway, up the stairs. He said, along the veranda, and he said, it's up there in that corner. Anyway, Morton gone away for about 3/4 of an hour, and I said to the publican, I said, wonder where that Morton is? He said, yeah, I'm a bit worried too, let's go find him. So they're going up the veranda there, and through the door and up the stairs, and finally, there's Morton sitting there. I said, Morton, what are you doing? He said, Billy. He said, crazy toilet, this one, mate. Every time I got to get up, he said, he grabs me by the balls and pulls me back down again. I said, you silly bastard, you're sitting on the mop bucket. Yeah, I remember Morton saying to me the other day, he said, hey, Billy, he said, you know something? I had a dream the other day. I said, what's that? He said, I was dreaming that my mum gave me $10 and I went to Adventureland. I said, that's nothing, mate. I had a dream too, mate. I dreamt that I had two women, mate, a blonde and a redhead, mate, and I was having a good time with them, mate. I just couldn't handle them all. And Morton said, well, crikey. He said, why didn't you give me a call? I said, I did. He said, but Mum said you're going to Adventureland. Yeah, I remember Morton when he was going over to America and he was working in a grocery store there, you know. And anyway, he's on a work exchange program. And what happened is American India is coming in, you know. And he's just standing there staring at all the toilet paper on the wall. Morton walked up to him. He said, what's your problem, mate? He said, I'm confused. I said, what do you mean you're confused? He said, well, he said, you got the One the softer, you got double strength and all the different labels. I don't know which one to grab, mate. He said, well, that's no problem, mate. He said, why don't you grab the health brand? It's got no name, mate, but it's cheaper. He said, all right, I'll buy it. So anyway, a couple of days later, the Indian is back in the shop there and he's standing in front of the toilet paper again. He said, what's the matter now, mate? He said, I've got a name for the no-name toilet paper. He said, what's that? He said, me call him John Wayne. He said, John Wayne? He said, yeah. He said, how come? He said, because he's rough, he's tough, and he don't take shit off Indians, mate.